Good afternoon. The time now is 12:30. I'm Julie Broughton. This is News 6 Extra. I hope you are having a great Wednesday. We're so happy you're spending a little bit of time with us today to get all caught up on your news and weather headlines. Of course, in the weather department, our big story continues to be the heat. Typically, this time of year, we top out right around 91. We are going well above that again today, climbing into the mid-90s. Also tracking a few showers and thunderstorms for our Wednesday afternoon. We will break that down for you and take a look ahead to your weekend forecast and your full 7-day forecast. And also, if you're like me and you have a teen driver at your house, some new regulations are going into effect regarding teen drivers. We'll check in with News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez in just a few minutes, and she will tell us all about a new law that Governor DeSantis is signing today. But first, it has been nearly 3 years since Hurricane Ian ripped through central Florida, and so many people are still dealing with repairs even as we are well into another hurricane season. News 6 investigative reporter Donovan Myrie joins us now. And Donovan, you met with one woman who is so excited because her house is finally repaired, but then she ran into some other issues when she went to collect some of her belongings. So this sounds like a mess, Donovan.
Yeah, Julie, she pretty much ran into a buzzsaw. Good afternoon. The story that we'll be showing you today, the story that I did, is about a woman named Kelly Millwater. And basically, what happened was Kelly's home suffered damage during Hurricane Ian. The home was so badly damaged and had mold that it was decided that her home really needed to be torn down. She ended up getting a grant from a fund or a program called Transform 386, I believe it's called. And basically, they were able to knock down her old house, bring in a prefab new home, put it up like really quickly in about 4 months. And then when she went to move in, well, that's kind of when the problem started. So take a look at the story. After Hurricane Ian in September of 2022, Kelly Millwater's home in Port Orange was deemed unlivable.
My house filled with mold from the floorboard up the ceiling.
Because of the mold, the home needed to be torn down. But Millwater, who is on full disability, was able to get help through Transform 386. Federal funds specific to residents of Volusia County to rehabilitate, repair, or in some cases like Millwater's, rebuild after the storm.
They tore down the house I was in, and I was given this house.
After construction, Millwater thought she was well on the road to some normalcy returning in her life. That is, until she started unpacking her belongings from a portable storage unit that had sat in her driveway.
I had all my belongings in a PODS unit, and it leaked.
Her PODS unit, best described as a mini shipping container, was supplied by the popular storage and moving company that will drop off a container, let a customer pack it up, and either leave it on property or store it in one of their warehouses.
That's my mattress, and that's water dripping out of it.
Kelly discovered many of her possessions were wet and covered in mold. Clothes, kitchenware, a soaked and moldy sofa and love seat.
A lot of personal items were gone. My furniture was destroyed. I had clothing destroyed. It was hard.
After unpacking, the damaged contents were left on the curb as trash. Kelly's estimate on the total damage? $14,000.
It was PODS that leaked. It was PODS that destroyed my furniture. And it was PODS that hasn't packed up.
Millwater showed us this picture of the water inside her PODS storage unit, number 42919BX. Your stuff was in that pod for 4 months. Were
Correct.
You surprised that things could be destroyed that quickly in 4 months and what was supposed to be?
Absolutely, and I thought that was a safe place to have it.
And it wasn't.
Obviously it wasn't.
First, Kelly reached out to Transform 386, who then reached out to PODS. What did PODS say?
It's not their problem.
But you have pictures.
I have pictures which were sent to them.
That's right. Even after receiving pictures of her damaged belongings, PODS said Kelly was on her own. In an email to News 6, a PODS representative wrote, "The container passed a water test and no leaks were reported before or after its use at Miss Millwater's property. It has since been returned to service and no further concerns have been reported."
Tell me all these pictures are not from a leak. How did the pod get wet on the inside? That doesn't make sense to me.
Would you recommend PODS to anybody else?
No, I would not. At this point, I haven't stood by their company.
Yeah, she pretty much is not happy with PODS as it goes. We did speak with PODS. It's kind of interesting. We ended up going through a public relations firm with Pods. We didn't get to speak to them directly, and the PR firm ended up. There was the people who emailed us that statement from Pods. The full statement is on the web at clickorlando.com.
And Donovan, they're saying that it passed a water test. I mean, obviously, water got in there somehow. What does she do now about the damage, or just those pictures are intense? Makes me sad.
Yeah, it does. It makes me sad also. Obviously there's a problem with that particular storage unit. As Kelly had said, or as we talked about in the story, that storage unit was outside in her driveway for 4 months. There's a couple of things here. First of all, what should have happened was they really should have taken that unit from her driveway and put it in storage. Her neighbor is under the same program that she's under. He ended up with 2 pods after he packed up his pods. Pods took those storage units and put them in a warehouse. And the warehouse is only about 20 minutes away from where she is. Kelly had asked them to take the pod the first time. They said, we don't have any room. Right before Hurricane Milton, she asked again, and they said, we don't have any room and we don't have anybody to do it. That is I'm not going to say it's legitimate. That is consistent with how things go, because I'm pretty sure that Kelly was not the only person asking for their pod to be delivered. And Pods also said that at that point, they had started to shut down their own operations to get their own people safely so they could secure their homes and secure their warehouse. So it's just kind of bad timing on her part. Most likely, what happened was during Milton, the container leaked. I don't know. I'm not a Pods container expert, but somewhere along the line, that container basically took on water. Pods also says that their containers are weather resistant, not waterproof, and there's kind of a big difference in between those two things. So the next steps for Kelly, I believe she has talked to her insurance company. She may have to go back and talk to her insurance company again. I'm really surprised that Pods basically just kind of ignored her concerns about that container, and they're just kind of like, basically kicking the can down the road, in my opinion.
I mean, so I guess, I don't know, would you say best practices if you find yourself in a situation, maybe don't try if you can to not keep the pod in your driveway for 4 months, try to get it into a storage facility?
Right, except where are we going with this? That's going to cost you more money. Now,
Right.
mind you, Kelly's pod was supplied to her through this program. And again, you have Pods, you have Transform 386. There's another company in between Transform 386 and Pods, and then you have Kelly. So you have a lot of players in all of this. But basically, like anything else, it's, kind of buyer beware, realize like where you are and what's going on. I think if Kelly had known that there was a possibility that that pod would leak, that she would have insisted on getting that pod into a storage unit and not just sitting on her driveway. Now, some people would like the pod in their driveway because they basically will use it as a storage unit, and they need to go in and out of that storage unit. So they like having it on site. Other people are, I need to put the stuff away. You can send it where it needs to go, and I don't need it back for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months. And I think that for Kelly would have been a best practice. It's be aware of all the things going on. That Pods, again, they are weather resistant, not waterproof. Again, there's a big difference in that. And then for anybody using any type of container, portable container storage moving company, that's a lot to say. Pods is the biggest. They've been around for a long time, but there are other alternatives as well. So basically just do your homework.
Absolutely. All right, Donovan, I know you will stay on top of this and keep us updated. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Julie.
Now, moving on to some national news for you today. In a landmark decision, a divided U.S. Supreme Court has upheld a Tennessee law restricting some medical treatments for transgender youth. This will clear the way for similar laws to take place in several states, including right here in Florida. Bradley Blackburn breaks it all down for us.
In a major case, the Supreme Court considered a Tennessee law passed in 2023 prohibiting treatments like puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and some surgeries for transgender minors. Opponents have argued the treatments are life-saving for transgender teens or those diagnosed with gender dysphoria. 26 other states have laws with similar restrictions. Tennessee argued it has, quote, a compelling interest in encouraging minors to appreciate their sex, particularly as they undergo puberty. In a 6-3 decision, the U.S. Supreme Court said Tennessee's law does not violate equal protection guaranteed by the Constitution. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the majority, quote, our role is not to judge the wisdom, fairness, or logic of the law before us, but only to ensure that it does not violate the equal protection guarantee of the 14th Amendment. Having concluded it does not, we leave questions regarding its policy to the people, their elected representatives, and the democratic process.
This now allows states to make the determination as to whether or not they will bar transgender minors or anyone, to the court's point, from obtaining certain medical treatment for gender transition therapy.
Dissenting, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote with the decision, quote, the court abandons transgender children and their families to political whims. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Recently, News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden spent the day with the Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood. And if you watch News 6 much, which I assume you do since you're here with us right now, you know that we frequently see the sheriff greeting men who have threatened him and other criminals at the airport. He says that's because he wants them to actually see him and know that what they're doing is wrong. And he talked to Ginger about why people who commit hate crimes and why people who take advantage of our seniors really strike a nerve with him.
Volusia Sheriff Mike Chitwood is known for his no-nonsense style, and one word in particular that has become sort of a trademark.
There's some real sick scumbags. You're looking at a bunch of scumbags. Who knows who this scumbag is?
Where did that come from?
My father. That's how he would refer to you. You gonna grow up and be one of them scumbags I want? That's what he would sit at the dinner table.
Turns out, tough talk runs in the family. Chitwood's father was a homicide detective in Philadelphia and later served as police chief in several cities. But early on, Chitwood says law enforcement wasn't the path he wanted, but it is the path he eventually took and carved out his own unapologetic style.
You can be passionate about your profession. You can be a tough on crime kind of person, but you can have compassion, understanding, and empathy when you do that. You don't have to be John Wayne. You don't have to, every door doesn't have to get kicked in.
Behind the bold words is a deep passion for justice, especially when it comes to hate.
A warrant out of Volusia County, Florida.
In 2023, Chitwood confronted men accused of making anti-Semitic threats against people in Volusia and death threats against him. Instead of issuing a statement,
I'm Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood.
He showed up to meet them at the airport.
I decided to do it when it started with the Nazis because I know how they came into this community and committed fear. People were fearful to wake up and find death threats in your driveway.
His message is clear. No one gets to hide behind a keyboard and terrorize a community.
I hope you enjoy your stay at the branch jail.
He says at the end of the day, the community gets to see them for the cowards they are.
What you have to be afraid of, there's somebody hiding behind a keyboard who lives in their mother's basement, who's sending emails about exterminating people. The fact that you think it's cool to sit behind a computer and go and do that, I guarantee you we're flying you back. I can't fly you back from India, and I can't fly you back from China, but I can sure as hell fly you back from New York and Connecticut and California.
And he's just as fired up about another group of criminals.
We protect our seniors in this community.
Those who prey on seniors.
The frauds are really something that we are extremely passionate about. We have our own fraud unit. And man, when you read those reports and see people born in 1935, 1938, 1941, 75,000, 100,000, they don't have. That's their life savings.
And it's not just random scammers. Chitwood says some of the latest schemes are actually being run from behind bars.
We're working on a group right now out of a prison in Georgia. What they're doing is they're going online. So if you got a speeding ticket today, they're calling you tomorrow, telling you, hey, we're with the ticket clinic. If you wire us $1,500 or get us $1,500, we'll make the ticket disappear and there'll be no points. And the money they're scamming is being deposited into the commissary accounts of the prisoners.
In fact, he just arrested a woman from Georgia for being a part of this scheme.
Christina, I'm Sheriff Chitwood. I want to welcome you to Florida. And I hope you enjoy your stay.
I'm ready to go home.
Well, you're going to be here for a while. The last time I saw the statistics, the number one driver behind the people who are 75 and older for committing suicide is they've lost their money to fraud. how do they live? You can't recoup that. When you're young, you make a bad decision. Okay, we'll get over this. But when you're that old, there's a way that you can do your job, be extremely successful, and have the community embrace you.
Agree or disagree with his methods, Chitwood says he'll keep showing up, speaking out, and fighting for the people of Volusia County.
And that was News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden reporting. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, we will break down today's forecast for you, including who has the best chance of seeing some showers and thunderstorms and how warm it will get where you are. And we'll also talk more about those new rules going into effect for teen drivers, in case you have a teen driver at your house. Stay with us. We're back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to News 6 Extra. It is now 12:47. I'm Julie Broughton. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. If you were with us on YouTube, you were just looking at a beautiful shot from Daytona Beach. We'll talk more about your forecast for you coming up in just a few minutes. But first, a new law signed into effect by Governor Ron DeSantis means new regulations for teen drivers, including they have to take a driver's ed course before they get on the road. And even some adults will now have to complete 2 classes. News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez tells us how lawmakers hope this will increase safety on the roads.
According to the state, there have been almost 160,000 crashes in Florida so far this year, and teen drivers are 3 times more likely to die in crashes than adults. But a new law could reduce those numbers.
Do you think that teen drivers should be required to finish a driver's ed course before they get behind the wheel?
Absolutely.
Starting July, they'll have to do just that.
A new law that is just weeks away will require teenagers to complete an approved driver's education course to get their learner's license.
Here are some of the requirements starting July 1st for 15 to 17-year-olds. Pass a written examination for a learner's license, pass a vision and hearing examination, and pass a driver's education course. Do you think that this will lead to a ripple effect of safer drivers on the roads?
I would hope so.
Research from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety found that teen drivers crash nearly 4 times as much as drivers 20 years and older per mile driven.
I remember the first time I got behind the wheel, had no idea how much pressure to put on the brake, the gas, it's all so foreign. Then you get a little confidence and you get a little bit, into distracted driving and all the things going on.
Some parents feel this would have a positive impact on young drivers.
My son is actually getting his learner's permit right now, so I'm just learning about this new regulation right now, and I think it'll be good for him on top of learning from a parent to also learn in a classroom setting.
Teens with a learner's license can still only drive with a person 21 or over in the car and need 50 hours of driving under their belt before applying for a driver's license.
Also starting in July, anyone 18 years or older trying to get their license here in Florida must complete a traffic law and a substance abuse course unless they've received their license in another jurisdiction or they completed a driver's education course. Reporting in Orlando, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
We are about a month into our rainy season. Of course, we're in hurricane season as well. The peak of hurricane season typically is in September, and leaders in one city are taking a vote today to continue their fight against some major flooding issues they've been having. This is in Apopka, and it's regarding funding a project around the Piedmont chain of lakes. Here's Mark Lehman.
This neighborhood off of Piedmont-Wekiva Road is one that's had constant problems with flooding. With this plan, however, the goal is for that to become a thing of the past. We spoke with one homeowner who says he's hopeful with the city's action.
I know when hurricane season gets going, I'm going to have another flood.
Jack Burrell says it's usually just a matter of time before his backyard turns into this. That was the case last year from Hurricane Milton.
The water would just flood in here. I mean, I had white caps coming across the yard and going around the property.
But since then, the city of Apopka has been working on a solution. In March, a plan was approved to pump excess water from nearby lakes. Now the council is voting to use $2.5 million in state grant funding to reduce reliance on drain wells serving Lake Pleasant and Lake Page, which is right behind Burrell's home.
Are you encouraged to hear
Oh,
that they're
very.
spending money?
I'm encouraged just looking out at the lake now.
The storm water removed from the lakes would be added to the city's reclaimed water network. The ultimate goal is bringing relief to homeowners who have been in need of a permanent solution.
Apopka's financial department says no match is required for this grant funding, so no money would come out of the city's pocket for this portion. All of this will be voted on during the city council meeting that's set for 7 tonight. Reporting in Apopka, Mark Lehman, News 6.
And we will let you know what happens with that vote coming up later today online and on air. Let's get a check of your forecast now, starting out with a look at the radar sweeping out for us here at 12:51. Nothing major happening just yet, but you can see where that sea breeze is setting up. So that will spark about a 30 to even 40% chance of a few showers today. Here's how that looks on the clouds and rain forecast. By 5 o'clock, again, most of us still dry, but you see those sea breezes coming in. The last couple of nights, we have seen a late sea breeze collision right along I-75, producing some heavy rain and some thunderstorms that went till around 11, 12 o'clock. So we likely will see something similar as we move through the day today. Even at midnight, still a few lingering showers right near Ocala before everything clears out for us overnight. Normal high this time of year is right around 91. Again, today we are going above that, sitting right now at 87 in Sanford. If you're in Melbourne, you're at 88. It is 90 in Palm Coast and 90 as well in Lakeland. Factor in the relative humidity. A lot of us already feeling close to 100. Feels like 100 in New Smyrna Beach. Feels like 95 right now in Ocala and in Palm Coast. Today we are going to a high of 95 in Orlando, 94 in Leesburg, and the Villages. You will top out today around 93. 7-day forecast looking like this. Rain chances stay at 30 to 40% for us for the next couple of days. Highs stay warmer than normal every single day. By Friday, those moisture levels do begin to come up just a little bit, bumping our chance of rain up to 50%. Friday is also the first day of summer. Then this weekend, rain chances will be at 40%. Overnight lows stay in the mid to upper 70s. I will also let you know the tropics are looking quiet as of now. We will talk much more about all of this, including the tropics, for you coming up on News 6 starting at 4. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today on News 6 Extra. I hope the rest of your day goes well, and I'll see you at 4.